Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have a very good guest for you. A very good human being. Let me put it that way. Rather than calling a guest, let me call him as a human being. This recording is right now happening at 7 in the morning, which is around about 9:30 in the US. And when I asked him whether we can have the interview at 9:30 p.m. in the US, he said, that's my family time. So we got to understand one thing. This person is a family person. And being a family person is very, very important today because you call yourself as leader of an organization and you have got a broken family. Everything starts with you yourself as a personal leader. And then you make sure that you have a fantastic foundation. And the foundation starts with your family. When your kids grow up, they have to look and say that I need to be like my dad, or I need to be like my mom. And this person that I'm going to introduce is a very good example who is there for his family. He makes money, but that doesn't mean that he runs for money at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock behind that. He's not in the rat race. He has relaxed and he does everything. He's the owner of 9 different companies. He has changed the world around him. He holds a purple heart, and he's going to speak about that. He's going to speak about his experience right now in COVID. He's going to speak about the book. He's going to speak about love, affection, and being a leader in this competitive world. Without ado, let me introduce my friend, Dr. Obom Bowen. Hi, doctor.
Hello, my friend. I am so excited. I'm so happy to be here, really. It's been such a remarkable journey the last 6 months here in COVID, and it's been a remarkable time since we last spoke. So it's good to be back. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on. And I'm just happy and excited to be here to bring some value to the folks that you've been serving. So I hope that this serves someone today.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been around about 1.5 to 2 years that we had our first interview. Now, what has changed in your life then and now?
Wow, it's so much to actually catch up. And in my mind, it felt as if we had that conversation maybe 8-9 months ago. And you said 2 years. I said, wow, the time just flew by. So let me share, I guess, in the last 2 years, and I look back, this was 2020, so 2018 to now, I've launched a few other companies, sold a few other companies since then. Most recently, going backwards, when COVID hit, I was traveling aggressively with my family. Also, one of the companies I launched, I was away from my wife and daughter every weekend for a while. And then my wife said, you need to figure out a way to do this mastermind every weekend online. So we started doing that. And then literally 3 weeks later, COVID hit. So I've been home since then. And the first 2 months, I was very happy and comfortable and ate too much food.
That happens.
Right, it happens. And, wasn't moving my body as I normally would because, when you're teaching and training, 8 to 12 hours on a weekend and doing the mastermind, you're just eating and you're eating for energy. But I was home. We were just relaxing, spending all that time with my 2-year-old and flipping through the channels. And then I started to get fluffy, just like, most folks were. Then I realized I had an interview to do and my shirt was a little tight. And, you didn't realize the inches were moving. And then I said, it's time to get in shape. So I'm happy to say over the course of the last 4 months that I've reduced and released about 43 pounds. And my energy and vibrance is back. The time I spend with my wife and my daughter, still building my businesses. I have the quadrants that I use. So when you reach out and I said, this was family time, but I remembered, the time difference between India, it's night for you and day for me. And then now it's night for me and it's day for you, flipping back and forth. I know that your mission is so important that, I asked my wife to volunteer some of this time that, you know, we can serve together and be able to give back to so many in the world that can. So obviously my boss said yes, which gives me the ability to say yes. You know, but the last 2 years have been fun. I've been enjoying, I think 2 years ago when we last spoke, that would have put my daughter, who's now 2 years old, at being a few months old as an infant. So now she's a toddler running around. My wife just took her upstairs because she loves to comment and come in on the Zooms that I do all day long. But if she was here right now, this would be a completely different interview.
Wow, that's great. That's great. You use two terms here, and I would like to take those two terms. Number one is you spoke about having companies and also winding up companies. How important is to have multiple streams of income?
Wow. First of all, that is a phenomenal question. And before I answer it, I'm going to give some context before I share the content of the answer to that question. So the context of it was when I first heard of multiple streams of income, like everyone else, I thought, man, I would love to have multiple streams of income, and it would be good to own, you know, say 7 companies. And like most people do, or at least what I did, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but if you start to sharpen me, I can get sharp. I started to work on 4 different things.
Okay.
So that means I was distracted by all of them, not focusing on at least one of them. And, you know, I did that for years. And then I went to a training and learned from someone who had 8 or 9 different streams of income. And one of the lessons I learned was start with one, master that, then add another, so on and so forth. So, you know, my first, I said, okay, great. That's a great idea. I should probably try that. But of course I was impatient. And I said, well, at least I could pull off 2. I'm smarter, you know, whatever. But it still didn't matter. I still had to focus on one. And my first opportunity into success was really in the network marketing space. And I had great successes there. And what I did was I took 80% of the income I was earning to start my first company. And I launched my first consulting business. And I spent a lot of time with there because in the network marketing opportunity, I had leverage. So I had spent 5 years building that company. So I had the time to go and put it into what I wanted to do. So then my wife and I spent an entire 1.5 years building the second company. And then we used funds from that to launch another company. Then I wrote my first book, and that became a coaching program. And then that became a coaching program that led into masterminds. And then I launched another consulting company and another. And eventually, 8 years later, we had 30 businesses. Eventually, my wife said, listen, we're not going to do this. So you need to sell these companies and pick one. I'm like, well, babe, but I really want, she's okay, fine. You can have 7. So we sold 23 different companies. We kept 7. And a few years ago, we launched an 8th company. And just recently we lost 1 because of COVID. It was my clothing line. We kind of closed that down because my international distributor and fabric designer both, you know, died as a result of COVID. But still, we still have several streams of income. I also have dozens of partnerships where I have business partners that are, and I have 3 different partnerships of businesses that I hold. And those 3 are either 10% where I'm doing more consulting and teaching and coaching to my business partners, 30% where I'm somewhat involved, and then I have a few 50-50 partnerships where we're equally involved together. So those are 3 different ones, and I can't count those companies as companies that I own. Those are companies I'm partnering. So with my wife, that's how I get away with having other streams and not actually owning those companies. But it's very important to have multiple streams of income. But first, we want to be able to make sure you start one, master one, then add another, simplify, systematize, then add another, simplify, and systematize, then add another. And some of the things like what's happening in society right now, COVID happened, one company or one stream of income completely was lost and destroyed. Yes, I was upset, but I'm still happy and excited that I have several additional streams, that it didn't actually dent our lifestyle at all. Now, did it throw away some, not throw away, did it throw off that amount of income coming in? Yes, but it didn't slow our lifestyle down one bit. And I know that because it's my company. When things are back to a new norm where we can be out more, I can easily start that company back up anytime, or just start a new one in form of it. But having several streams is very important for so many reasons. And the best one is to be able to have most of those streams that are either passive or residual. Absolutely. That way you're not working directly trading your time for dollars, because my greatest love and passion is spending time with my family. So the only thing that really gives you the time to do that, and what we love to do the most now, is travel, because I have all my businesses are pretty much on autopilot. And when that happens, then you just travel the world. So my wife and my daughter and my other daughters, who are now 18 and 20, it's a whole different story. They don't want much to do with dad anymore and mom. So we are basically brainwashing the 2-year-old with us everywhere we go. And that's why it's important. So you can live life the way you actually truly desire to.
Wow. Wow. The second word that I would like to ask you is, again, you use that in both of your conversation right now, and that's called mastermind. Now, people use the word mastermind just for any sort of training program, but mastermind by itself has got its meaning when Napoleon Hill came up with Think and Grow Rich. What do you mean by mastermind, and how is mastermind helping to change the perspective?
Gotcha. And again, some context, and what you say is very powerful to understand really what a true mastermind is, right? The context of it is understanding that anytime you have 2 or more minds come together, you then create a third more powerful mind or beyond. So if you have 10 people, it's an 11th mind. In Think and Grow Rich, I believe it's chapter 11 that talked about, the power of the ether, which is that imaginary place in the sense that exists. A better way to put it would be the place where energy comes together, where we collaborate, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was such a great idea. But the power of a mastermind, and a true mastermind, is where more than one individual comes together. Let's say a group, and we'll use the number 10. 10 people come together. It could be any other number. 10 people come together for the greater benefit of each other's success. Now, we can have relationship masterminds where all the couples in there are focused on the individuals or the couples and helping them all through their struggles, sharing their perspective challenges and how they overcome them. You can have financial masterminds, you can have business masterminds, whatever. It's always coming together where each and every person is there to share. Now, I build a lot of businesses that are mastermind generated because I understand the collective power of bringing 10 to 20 different business owners or entrepreneurs together. Say, for example, I own several businesses, and one of my hats that I wear is I consult to a lot of the 8 and 9 figure brands like Walmart store, Jafra Cosmetics, so on and so forth. So if I'm in a mastermind and I'm sharing my ideas and thoughts or challenges, I'm sharing on a larger scale. But for someone who decided to get into that mastermind that might be starting a business for the very first time, it helps to expand their mindset. It helps to expand the way they think. And that really, truly is the purpose. It's the combined energy that moves the group and helps everyone in that group individually. And to be honest with you, I think the term has been bastardized for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, so many, we have a mastermind for this. And what they're saying is basically, I'm running a coaching program and everything that, I say or I do is pretty much what goes in. Then they're running and directing that. But a true mastermind is a collective of everyone's opinions and ideas for the betterment of every other member in that group. So when you think of it, if you've ever been a Star Trek fan, like Star Trek, Enterprise, where the Borg was part of it, right? The Borg is a collective. The Borg is the mastermind.
Yeah.
Where out of, the entire body of the Borg was one mind.
Yeah.
And that one mind is success of whatever the Borg wanted to do, right? Resistance is futile. So if you're in a success mastermind, then success is the goal. So failure is futile. Yeah. The more you try, the group will just, in a sense, beat you to be successful.
Absolutely.
So, that's how I look at it when it comes to success. And one of the companies I own is a relationship company. So my wife and I, we do a lot of masterminding with couples. We'll do couples retreats. And the purpose of it is after the retreat. Mm-hmm. That's when the real work starts. Yeah. We now have collectively put this mastermind alliance together that they're able to move with a community and a mind after. So this husband and wife that goes home is no longer trying to fend on themselves, and they have a chance to come back. And thanks to the power of, modern technology, they can continue the conversation for years to come.
Wow. Now here I got the third word that you use right now. I don't have any prepared questions for you. And right. that's not the way, it's better to have a conversation. This is not an interview at all. Those who are watching this, right. They know that this is a conversation between two friends, and one is a leader. Another one is a better leader. That's you. Now here we go. The word that you used about the family coming back after the mastermind, and you put everyone together. How important is to have an ecosystem?
No prepared questions, but you ask such great questions, right? It's truly important to have an ecosystem. As in a matter of fact, just last night, Wednesday, it's the nights that I have one of my masterminds that go. This one is a business one, but this one is the holistic one of the holistic masterminds that I do, which is all faith. We follow the premise of faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. So
wow. Could you repeat that once again? Could you repeat that once again for my audience?
Yes. Faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. It's the holistic approach to building wealth. You cannot focus in one area alone because you're going to off balance the rest of them. Mm-hmm. So a book I wrote called the 5 S of Life talks about those categories: faith, finance, family, fitness, and fun. So relationships falls under family. Yeah. And, just last night we had one of the younger couples who, they're building the business, but they're still having this frustrations with the relationship side. Now they've been together for 3 years, married for 1. So, you remember what it's like, being a newlywed, and, she was so frustrated with being able to, her part was that she wanted the frustration to end. And I shared with her, I said, listen, that will never end. It doesn't matter how long you've been together. So I said, let me prove this. And it was not rehearsed, obviously. So we're in the mastermind, and one of the other couples who've been married for 23 years, I asked them, do you guys still have what, the younger couple was calling these basic arguments? And I said, do you guys still have these basic arguments still? It says, yes, right? And my wife and I still have those basic arguments. I told her what does happen is you learn to understand the language of and methodology of communication between you and your spouse. Yep. Over the years. You learn then to move from frustration and aggravation to basically to make it fun or funnier or lighter between yourselves as a couple, and you can make fun of it. So we give a few examples, and something that my wife and I was going through at the same time that week as an example. So we kind of went into it for a while. But in my mastermind, one of the things we have is a community chat. So inside of the when we actually have the virtual chat once a week, we still have the chats and follow-up questions, so that micro community is still there throughout. If someone still needs connection, by having that community to still support on a daily, weekly basis, but weekly we meet and connect. But having that community after the fact that something happens, it's very important to give two things: clarity and focus. Oh, yeah. Because we'll talk now and we have the great ideas and it's awesome. But I guarantee you, after both of us are off of this, conversation, something is going to pop into me and say, oh my gosh, I wish I had said this. And you'll say like, oh my gosh, I wish I had asked this, right? And having that community afterwards is being able to follow up so you can get clarity from whatever was said or done, and you can focus on what the new direction needs to be.
Wow, wow, wow. Very good. Now here comes the next word that you used. And how important is that particular word in today's life? And the word comes from your 5F, and it is the very first word of the 5Fs, and that is faith.
Faith, faith is very powerful. As a Christian, you read in faith itself, it says, faith is a substance of things not yet seen, but what you're certain that you hope for.
Yeah.
It's really, if you transcribe it to another word, would be belief, right? If you break it down a little more to the root, would be certainty. Whatever you're truly certain about, like for example, you're certain tonight that whenever you get everything done, you will go to sleep. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. Yeah. So your faith in having rest, whether that's 8 hours or not, knowing that that's going to be a certainty for you. Before I generated wealth, I also used to participate in the belief that, oh, sleep is for the weak. You don't need that much sleep. But as a psychologist, I'm also a researcher. Yeah. And I do know this, that the most important thing for me now, is proper, appropriate rest. So here's what happens when you start not having enough rest, it starts to degrade on your adrenal system, which means it starts to drain. So you start to overeat, you start to gain weight, right? You start to get, you're less focused, you become frustrated, and everything starts to fall apart. So for me, at a minimum for my body, everyone is different. Some people need 8 hours, some 6, some 7. At a minimum, I need 6 hours. My wife, she's an anomaly. She'll have 12 to 14. That's a whole different world. But on average, as a family, we get 8. So I broke my day down in 4 quadrants. And that certainty that nothing gets into any other quadrant unless it's like pre-discussed like now. So I don't do anything unless it's pre-discussed. I don't answer calls that are not pre-planned. I don't even hear my phone. It's on permanent silent. I don't even know what my ringtone sounds like. How does that tie back to the faith? I know now where my life is, there is no one, nowhere will get me to do anything that I choose not to do and agree with. So that faith that we must have, and in the Bible as a Christian, it says it must be like a mustard seed, which is like this, meaning that as small as that is certainty in knowing that, you know what, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. Now it could be permanent. I may not make up tomorrow, but faith also in success is the number one driving component to becoming successful. It's the glue that actually holds you when you fall down 8 times and get up that 9th to say, you know what, I'm going to do it again, right? I'm going to show up again. Yeah. You know what? I say I'm going to do this, but I really don't know how I'm going to do it. But it's that faith that drives you through. And, some people will say, well, I don't really believe in faith. I can't. If I can't see it, I don't believe in it. And I said, well, try holding your breath and don't believe in oxygen and see how long you last, right? So faith is the oxygen to success. And that's success in any endeavor, in faith, in family, in finance, in fitness, in fun, whatever you need, there is a very strong component of exercising faith, which is certainty, which is that also translated as gratitude. The things that you're grateful for, that you know is going to happen, even though it may not look like it's going to in the moment, that certainty that you have, that you will do it. I call it, in a sense, the ant philosophy, and the ant philosophy is, listen, you go over it, under it, around it, or through it. Whatever it takes, you're going to do it. That faith is that certainty. And last piece is this. If you are committed to running a marathon, Faith is knowing that you're going to start and cross that finish line. Whether you run the whole thing, you walk it, you fell down, you drag yourself through, you ask for assistance, it doesn't matter. You know, if you're committed to that finish line, you're going to walk through the finish line. That's exercising faith.
Wow, very powerful. There's a lot of lessons to learn, a lot of lessons to learn. Let me catch the next word. And the next word is where you said that you have 4 quadrants when it comes to your day. You have split in such a way that nobody interferes you. 99% of the people, they use the word time management, which in fact I don't agree to. I say that you can't manage your time because irrespective of who you are, you've got only 24 hours.
Right.
Now, but we all get distracted. And there is one solution that you mentioned here is you don't know what is your ringtone because you have completely shut it down. You have kept that inside and so forth. But every time what happens to the rest of the world is they pick up their mobile device and see what call they got it, what message they got on WhatsApp and so forth. Now, how did you divide your day into 4? Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, before I share that, I'll say this. You're absolutely 100% correct. I wholeheartedly agree with you. There is no such thing. It's the biggest farce ever as time management. Because, for example, if you were to sit here for like, let's say 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, how did I manage that time? I can't.
Yep, exactly.
Even if I look at the clock and I hold the time on the clock, it doesn't matter, time still goes.
Yeah.
But what is manageable is ourselves, how we manage ourselves. So self-management is very, very powerful. So when I understood, so, okay, great, there's 24 hours in the day, and the billionaire, the beggar, has the same hours on the clock.
Yeah.
How we manage ourselves around that's very important.
Yeah.
So I really took it to say, you know what? I still want to have a 7 to 8 hour day of production. And I look and see what would be the best time that's the most effective for production for me. And that's kind of where I ended my day, not started. So my day starts pretty much, believe it or not, in about 2 hours. And so the most important part, my first quadrant, the most important part is called sleep.
Okay.
So sleep for me and my family, it's midnight to 8 in the morning. That's the first quadrant.
Okay.
So we set 8 hours to get sleep and rested so I can wake up, refresh and revive and attack the day. The second quadrant is called morning routine. And that's from 8 to 12. So 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. during the day. 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. during the day, when I'm up, that's when I work out. I'll spend time with my wife and my daughter. We do whatever we need to get done. I prepare for the rest of the day. So those 4 hours is morning routine. That's when I get done working out, I'll have a shower, I'll have breakfast or brunch, depending on whenever that is. And then my work day starts from 12 to 7 p.m. Now, in those 7 hours, there's no distraction. If it's not on my calendar, I do not do it. Right. So in that time, that's all I do. It's concentrated. I work from a calendar, and it's a proactive calendar, meaning, you know, some folks, we use like our cell phone device and they have their calendar. So, and they're set the alarms. The alarms, if you're setting those alarms, you start to respond to the alarm going off. And now you're living a reactive life. So you're waiting for things to go off for you. But if your calendar, it's in a day calendar and you're looking at it and you see what's coming up, you're living proactively, right? So you're seeing what's coming, and it keeps you in vision mode. So from 12 to 7 p.m., that's work. 7:01, I'm done, except for the exceptions like now. So from 7 to midnight is family time. This is the time where I unwind from the day. I'll sit down and we'll watch a few shows or do something and just kind of get at least 4 compact hours with my daughter and my wife. And then when she goes down to bed, my wife and I spend 2 hours at least doing something we want to do. Whether it's, you know, it's reading a book, it's catching up. And recently, since we've been here in COVID, we spend 2 hours binge watching some show. You know, right now we just finished watching the show Blind Spot, which was amazing entertainment. But the reason I do that, I also used to subscribe to that, you know, you don't watch TV or don't, that's also minutia. if you don't find a way to entertain your mind and take it off the labor of the day, off the work, it's mindless. I watch the television to get my mind away and completely change my focus from what I've done for the day. So when I have 8 hours of sleep, it's a rested sleep. And when I have that time to just to be entertained and I rest and I relax, I get up, I'm fresh for the rest of the day. Whatever didn't get finished that day is on the calendar at an open time for the day. I always leave at least an hour open for something that didn't get finished in that open hour of the day to get done. Yep. But in those 7 hours that I work, nothing is impeding that. So that quadrant has been in place for me, gosh, for 9 years now. Mm-hmm. And when I brought my days down into that quadrant now, I teach my quadrant system to so many other professionals. Now, they don't have to use my sliding scale. They just use the quadrants that's available for their schedule. Some people have a crazy imbalanced day and it's sliding up and down wherever, but as long as they have time for family, they have time for work, they have time for sleep and a routine, success is found in your daily routine. Yep. If it is not a routine, we are creatures of habit. We're going to slip into the habit that is the most comfortable for us. Yeah. And failure is found in our comfort zone. So is success. What routines we're creating, and I'll say this lastly, we were created to be safe. And safety breeds into apathy. Yeah. Now, apathy is really a natural human instinct where it consistently forces us all to seek a comfort zone where nothing ever changes. Yeah. So then in order to be successful, we have to create a plan or a system that's going to then force us out of that comfort zone. Yeah. And that's what I did by creating that system that forces me every single day. Mm-hmm. And since we're creatures of habit, now I'm in the habit of success. Yeah. My body automatically knows what it has to do every single day. And at 7:01, I've lost interest now in doing anything for work, right? So my body has been trained for 9 years, like 7:01, done. Also, all my kids know that 7:01, 7:02, that's when they start calling dad. My 2-year-old, that's when she started coming over. So she's a little confused right now because, you know, daddy is not, so mom has her upstairs. But that's the importance of a quadrant that you stick to, because if you don't create a system for yourself, comfort will force you to a system that will put you in a life that you don't want.
Wow, very powerful. And this is something which I really follow. And let me go to the next question, because that again came from you. 7:01. Now your little one knows it's my time. Let me go and knock the door. There are a lot of people who do not know this importance, because sometimes you might be completely working on a project and people call you. And when I say this people, this could be your relatives, it could be your family members, and the third one is your friends. You also mentioned about entertainment, because you need to sometimes relax and watch something so that you can release yourself, so that you become more productive. I understand this part. Now, how important is friendship and friends? And imagine they do not know your 4 quadrants. For them, fun. And they call you during your productive time, which is completely locked only for you to find results. They would be seeing that in a different manner, and they would be looking at you as a different person. Oh my goodness, he's not picking up the phone, or he is the only person in the world who knows what is sex is and so forth. How do you deal with that situation where friendship is important or not, number one? And number two, how do you deal with those friends who are close to you, but they don't respect your time?
That's extremely powerful. So the reason I created the quadrated system was because that wasn't happening. And what happens is when you don't respect your time first, no one else will. The first 2 years that I did it, it was, it was up and down, some understandings happening with my friends, but it's been 9 years now. For the past 7 years to now, anyone who knows me, and that's the first thing I will share with them. Like when we spoke and reached out, that's the first thing I share with them. Because many of them will call me, say, I've been calling you for a while. I say, here's the deal. First, I do not answer unscheduled calls. Yeah. A text message is probably better. and then I'll let you know what a better time is for us to communicate. Now, many of my friends do not reach out to me outside of the work hours. They'll reach out during the work hours time of the day. So in between every hour, there is a 15-minute break I schedule. So in between those breaks is when I check texts and stuff like that. But when I have my friends now, they know me, they know my schedule. I don't care how much they think they're important, then this is from father down. I don't care how much you think you're important, because what's important to me is my family and my life. And if you're interrupting the growth of my family and my life, you're not really a friend or a family member respecting my time for my family. Most of my friends will reach out and they'll say, hey, I know it's family time. You probably might not get back to me right now, maybe tomorrow, but is it okay if X, Y, or Z? And, if it's there, I may, message them back. For those who are really close with us, they will message me and say, hey, can you ask Anna, my wife, can you ask Anna if, it's really important if we can jump on it, whatever it is. And, there's the running joke in the family. Someone sends me a message, and, sometimes when we sit there, I might see it light up, and my wife will say, who is it? And she said, did they ask her? It's like, nope, they didn't ask for your permission. So she's like, answer them tomorrow, right? So it's very important to set your boundaries first. If you don't respect your time, no one else will. And it's so powerful of a lesson for me to learn that, because I had this ridiculous saying, but before I actually generated wealth. Here was one of them: money doesn't sleep, and neither will I. It was so, let me just say, stupid. It was so stupid to have that philosophy. And, I learned from some of my mentors. I used to think like, gosh, this guy is such a, he doesn't answer my calls, and I'll text him. And I read the research where they said, 100% of texts get read. The research didn't say 100% of text messages gets responded to. And I didn't realize that the next day or two or something, I would get responded back from, a mentor of mine. He was earning millions of dollars then. This was before I made my first $100,000. And then one day I got so mad, and we were at an event, and I talked to him, and he says, listen, if you don't respect your time, don't expect me to respect your own.
Got it.
I got mad. And then I went to his wife, and she explained it to me, because, he didn't, which was another lesson I learned too, in humility. So I said, the lesson I learned there was he just did it, and people followed, or they didn't. I said, the lesson I learned as a leader is I'm going to explain to everyone so they at least know and understand why I'm not communicating with them. But also, as a psychologist, we teach people how to treat us. So if I don't set the rules up front, if I don't set the context, then things won't make sense. I mean, if I were to go to, as a matter of fact, if I look at my phone right now, and you can see all the messages coming in. That's,
wow.
It's not going to be answered until tomorrow. Same thing here. It's not going to be answered until tomorrow, because the time that I set for you now, I'm on until we're off. When this is done, the rest of this gets answered tomorrow. It's family time. I have 2 more hours. I'm going to unwind. I'm probably going to dip into an hour of my sleep, because I take at least 3 hours to unwind. I'll get something to eat. I'm still going to be hyper for a bit, but I'm going to wind down. So if I look at anything else, then I'll get excited, and nope, that's not going to happen. So it's very important for the individual, for you to respect first your time. If you don't respect your time, no one else will.
Wow. How important, again, I got it from your conversation, how important is to have a mentor or a coach in your life?
Farookh, you ask all the great questions. I'm just going to say that. It's extremely important to have a mentor in your life. And here's the context with that. It's not just a mentor, anyone. It's someone you align with. And I go back to everything in my 5S. Now, one of them could be off. And that's, faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. The fun is kind of like it's okay. We don't have to be the same thing. Doesn't have to have, but faith and family are my two no-goes. If we don't have the same beliefs and mindset or philosophy about that, finance is also negotiable. Fitness is also negotiable. But for me, I can't seek health advice from someone who's not healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I can't seek financial advice from someone who's not financially free. For me now, there's a different level of financial freedom. It's mental freedom. So I'm not going to seek financial advice from someone who doesn't have mental freedom. What is mental freedom? For me, it's beyond the money. I have no need for money now for the rest of my life. My wife and I have earned enough to not have to worry about income probably for the next 125 years. So that is mental freedom. That is the space I'm in. And now beyond that is now legacy, which is what I'm building for my kids. So it's important. And I have several mentors. In fact, right now I have 8 health mentors in so many different demographic of health itself, nutrition, working out, spiritual, all those things that fall into the category of fitness. And I connect with each of them, separately. I even have a nutritionist, right? But it's important to walk the path that you're going and find someone who's been there, done what you're planning to do, and they do it with such ease that they can save you time and frustration. And at times, so there's a difference really between a coach and a mentor.
Yeah.
So a coach is someone that charges you to help you through your processes. It's also important to have a coach. So when I need help in a certain area, I'll pay for coaching. But a mentor is someone who will mentor you. Sometimes there's no financial cost involved. There is a time, so it has to be on the time of that mentor, which will mentor you in life skills or whatever it is you're seeking mentorship in, but they have to be an equal value exchange. Sometimes it's money, but sometimes it's part of that reciprocity process. They're giving, you want to be able to have something to exchange also. So I used to give a lot of my talents to those who I was seeking mentorship from. Like, for example, I mentored with so many professionals in the speaking arena. I would serve, I would pick them up from the airport, I would all these things. And just so listen, you don't have to do anything. I just want to get your advice and seek wisdom in said area. And I would get, over the years, I put in the time to get it back. But, for me personally, I mentor 5 individuals a year because it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And I'll mentor someone in a mentorship program that I have for 24 months. Because I'm putting a lot of time into them. My reciprocity portion of that is I'm helping, mostly it's in business. And in that, I'm helping them with life as well. I help them to really fast track their time. But what I've done is I've built this massive network now with probably about 170 individuals that I've mentored over the last decade. And at any time I seek or need advice, I can go to them because they're now the experts and masters in their field. And I can utilize, their skills and talents to help others in their field. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I have a good friend of mine who's in the military, 28 years he served, his wife now 24 years. They're planning on getting out and starting his wife paints, and he's always been a wine connoisseur. So they want to put a wine and painting business together. 8 years ago, I mentored a young lady with the same concept, and she's now built a multi-million-dollar brand. I put the two of them together, so she's now mentoring him through that process and being able to do that for her. But I was able now to leverage that. Now, both of them, who knows what's going to happen years from now if I may need help or mentorship in an area from them. But that has now been a reciprocity thing. But having a mentor is, it's butter on your bread. You cannot eat and enjoy your bread dry. You've got to have a little bit of butter on it. So having a mentor is extremely important because it's someone who's walked the path you've walked, and they can tell you where to look out for the potholes, and they can help you prevent so much of the hardship, the frustration, and the disappointments that will come your way because they give you a heads up. It's really like if you're walking in the bush, someone who's literally already chopped down a path, just follow them.
Wow, great. We got two more questions. My next question also comes from the conversation that we had right now. You said that if you want to grow, you pick up their bag, you drive to the airport, and you take them wherever they want to because your whole objective is to learn. How important is speaking?
Mm. Wow. Speaking first is listening. So we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. If we use it accordingly, we will learn to speak so much better. But many of us want to speak without listening. First, you have to listen or speak to be understood, then to be understand. What do I mean? Many times with a lot of those who I received mentorship from, I would drive them to and from the airport and events, volunteer my time, and I listen to the conversations that they have. I learned and was able to pick up. I remember listening to, I won't name this individual, but I remember bringing him from the airport. He was doing a multi-million-dollar deal in a 20-minute conversation. Obviously, at the time, I wasn't even earning 6 figures a year, and he closed a 7-figure deal. I learned I learned posture. I learned positioning. I learned how to position myself as an authority when you actually are an authority in that space.
Yeah.
On the call before the sale was made, I remember the person basically said, well, I don't see why, I should pay 1.7 million for X. And he said, that's great. Whenever you see when you should or where you should, you call me and let me know. We'll talk later. And then the person's like, no. And he says, no, listen, we've already wasted enough time. So call my assistant and schedule another time when you're ready on my calendar and let them know it's phase 2. So he hung up the phone. So I was curious. I said, sir, what's phase 2? And he said, well, phase 2 is they're not going to get on my calendar until next year. See, that person didn't know that. And I was like, because they wasted his time. Now, but anyways, long story short, 5 minutes before we got to where we were going, that person was back on the phone. And the only thing happened in that conversation was this: we're ready to move forward. And he says, okay, great. I'm going to connect you with the person that's going to take care of that transaction. And, I didn't even know how to articulate the question after that. Not until after the event, we're driving back, I asked him, how did that happen? And he said that person already knew I was the answer to their problem. But if they weren't willing to invest in the result, then I would let them feel that pain for another year. And I said, wow. So whenever I speak from that place of certainty. I know when I'm offering my product or service that I'm the best in the world at it. Good luck getting the result you're seeking in the time you're seeking without me. That's the lesson I learned. So speaking, especially when you are speaking as a speaker, I know that when I share and I exchange that information, I'm giving my time, my talent, and my expertise. So when I communicate, it's important to communicate clearly and effectively and to lead the conversation. And when you communicate clearly and you lead the conversation, then there is less of a chance of misunderstanding your message. If you're selling something, of misunderstanding your ask. Or as another mentor of mine taught me, know if your client is just lowballing you because they're just being cheap, right? So now I have clients who pay the same thing, 1.7 for the same consultation. Companies like Walmart, Jafra Cosmetics, Chevron, all, it's amazing. But because I had mentorship, that then took the years off my time into a shorter space, because I got the lessons, because I got the message, and know how to actually speak. So when you speak, you should always speak with a purpose. And that is the number one lesson that I've learned. I never use words that I will ever take back. And I never speak unless I'm certain of what's going to come out is the end all. I don't make too many mistakes. If I make a mistake, I own it. It's not a mistake. That's what it was. And if I do make a mistake that I deem a mistake, then I correct for the mistake. The next time, here's what we're going to do. The next time, and I do it.
Wow. One last question.
Yes.
You are a coach, you are a family person, you develop community, you are there always to give. Let me take you and put you on to the stage right now where there are thousands and thousands of people, because you are a great public speaker. What are the qualities
I'm there.
that you should be having as a change maker, as a change agent, as a change leader with clear purpose in your mind? What is that?
The number one aspect is authenticity. You want to be able to be authentic with yourself, your message, and your belief system.
Yeah.
So if you're not authentic, if you're not living your message, like that is the most important key. If you're not living your message, you're living a lie. Yeah. And you cannot convince anyone longer than a certain period of time with a lie. Lies die, and you create more lies to cover up more lies, to cover up more lies, and you're further from the truth.
Yeah.
So walking in your truth as a speaker, as a trainer, as a presenter, living that truth, living that message, you never have to rehearse.
Yeah.
You never have to study. You know your information because you live your information. And when you live it, you can always come from that place of authenticity. I mean, there's so many things that I can add on to that. But when you are authentic, you are then what I call beautiful.
Yeah.
And you break the word down, you be beautiful of you. So I use that because years ago, folks used to be like, oh, you're just so full of yourself. It's like, who else do you want me to be full of? I'm going to be full of me.
Yeah.
Someone who is beautiful, who's full of themselves, is just a high level of self-esteem.
Yeah.
Self-esteem is the estimation of oneself. So be authentic and know within yourself who you are and live your truth, which gives you that higher estimation of yourself. So you can't live anyone else's life, because if you begin to do so, then you're living a lie. So be authentically you, live your truth, and most importantly, have that faith, which you talked about, which turns back into that confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the confidence in yourself, and I'm on that stage, 15 to 20, the largest stage I've been on so far is 53,000 members.
Wow.
If I don't have the confidence in myself, they won't have the confidence in the projection of my message.
Yeah.
And it has to start with you and your authentic self 100%.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not an interview. This was not a conversation either. This was learning and discovering. I don't like to use the word learning. It's more about discovering yourself. When you speak to people, masterclass people, you understand who you are. It's not understanding somebody else. It's better understanding who you are. Right. Until otherwise, you don't respect yourself. Until otherwise, you don't know who you are. You move to the four quadrants. You got to understand who you are. The life has no purpose at all. And those are the powerful words that was coming from Dr. Bowen. All from purpose, purpose, and purpose. If you don't have purpose, if you look at all the questions that he was answering, it's all based on purpose, whether it is family, whether it is coaching, whether it's mentoring, whether it is speaking. The most powerful word is purpose. Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much for being our guest. It's a great honor and pleasure. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, my friend. It's been a pleasure and an honor as always, my friend. I look forward. If I can ever be of service again, please let me know. If the time is available, we will do it. We will make it happen. As long as there's breath in my nostrils, we shall breathe together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.